Did you think only planet Earth is the survival place of living things? Life on Venus. Hello and welcome to Z. Don't forget to subscribe. Mars is currently the leading topic of discussion among individuals from all around the world. NASA's Perseverance, as part of its investigation into the possibility of life on Mars, the Curiosity rover identified organic compounds that had been preserved in ancient sediment. Elon Musk also has ambitions to send humans to Mars within the next 5 years or so. Nevertheless, very soon, our attention will move to Venus. This depiction of hell, which is so swelteringly hot, has been enticing us for years with tantalizing suggestions that there may be life concealed within its clouds. Before we go into these missions and the ramifications of their discoveries, we first need to understand why Venus may possibly harbor life, because if life exists there, this will allow us to move on to the next step of our discussion, which will be the consequences of these missions. We have been away from this fascinating planet for more than 30 years, but we are now finally on our way back there with 4 extraordinary missions that will, once and for all, solve the mystery of Venus and maybe shed light on life elsewhere in the universe. It is incomparable to anything else that can be found anywhere else on our world. Temperatures on the surface of Venus can exceed 900 degrees Fahrenheit, 475 degrees Celsius, making it the hottest spot in the solar system. Due to these high temperatures, the surface of Venus is the most dangerous place in the solar system. Planet in our solar system, not to mention the crushing pressures, fierce winds, and an atmosphere made primarily of carbon dioxide as the principal component, but in the midst of its sulfuric acid clouds, the circumstances for life are just about perfect. Microbes with characteristics similar to bacteria have long been hypothesized to be capable of thriving in the atmosphere of Venus due to the favorable temperature conditions, the presence of all the necessary components for life, and the abundance of available chemical energy. On the other hand, how could there ever have been life on such a terrible planet? There is some evidence that points in the direction of the possibility of this happening. There is evidence that Venus was once a much more hospitable planet in the past, complete with a temperate climate, an ocean of liquid water, and indications of both ancient and contemporary volcanic activity. This is supported by the fact that there is evidence of both ancient and contemporary volcanic activity. Because of the interaction of these two factors, it is a valid hypothesis to suggest that microorganisms first arose close to the hydrothermal vents of Venus billions of years ago, developed there, and eventually expanded to every part of the planet. After that, when the environment shifted to its present-day depiction of hell, the only bacteria that survived were those that lived in the clouds. Nevertheless, all of this is merely hypothesis and supposition based on some very flimsy evidence. We haven't sent a probe to the surface of Venus in over 30 years, and the most recent data collected by passing spacecraft or ground-based telescopes here on Earth is imprecise. For instance, we recently found evidence of phosphine in the atmosphere of Venus, which is a possible sign of life. However, the sign isn't conclusive evidence that life exists on Venus. This perplexing conundrum has, fortunately for us, caught the interest of scientists from NASA, ESA, and MIT, and these organizations are currently planning to send 4 separate missions to search for life on Venus. To begin, NASA is working on 2 programs known as Veritas and Da Vinci Plus, both of which are expected to get off the ground in the latter half of the 2020s. The geography and composition of the surface of the planet are of particular interest to Veritas, and an orbiter will use radar and gravity readings to learn more about it. The surface of the planet is of great relevance to Veritas. In order to ascertain whether or not Venus was ever a planet capable of supporting life, the purpose of the Veritas mission is to seek for evidence of oceans and volcanism on Venus, both in the past and in the present. It will utilize a parachute lander and an orbiting imager to investigate the composition of the atmosphere of Venus in order to learn how it developed and the specific chemistry that is taking place within it. The mission of Da Vinci Plus places a primary emphasis on gaining a better understanding of the atmosphere. This will supplement Veritas in assisting us in comprehending Venus's remote history, and it will also assist us in determining whether or not Venus's clouds are truly habitable today by providing a comprehensive and thorough image of the composition of Venus's atmosphere. Both of these benefits will come from the fact that Veritas will be used. The next thing on the agenda is the mission concept of the European Space Agency, which is slated to begin underway in the year 2031. Imagine has a somewhat distinct array of sensors, and using these will assist in piecing together the timeline of Venus' ancient history. For instance, Envisage will be able to assist in determining the ages of the buildings that Veritas discovers, such as evidence of riverbeds that existed a very long time ago. This mission will try to understand the atmospheric composition as well as the geological aspects of Venus, just like the other two missions that NASA is planning to send to the planet. Last but not least, there is a mission that will be carried out by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology known as the Venus Life Finder, VLF. This mission is scheduled to take off in 2023 aboard the brand new Rocket Laboratory Photon Launch System. This mission is the scientific equivalent of a smash and grab operation. It will involve a variety of sensors, landers, and even a sample return mission. The goal of this mission is to collect as much data as possible. However, in contrast to the other missions, the primary objective of the VLF is not to learn about the history of Venus. Rather, it is to locate evidence of the presence of living organisms in Venus' atmosphere. This is in contrast to the other mission's primary objectives, which are to learn about the history of Venus. As a consequence of this undertaking is fraught with a high degree of peril, but it also has the potential to yield extremely rewarding results. If one of these micro-missions is successful, the data that it collects will be of incalculable value. As an illustration, the mission will consist of a balloon probe that will seek for indications of life while remaining within the zone of the atmosphere that is acceptable for human habitation. The very low-cost launch vehicles that are now being developed, like as SpaceX's Falcon 9 and Rocket Lab's Photon means, in addition to the fact that VLF is privately funded, make this enterprise an even more attractive prospect. That financially secure entities such as colleges may now be depended upon to sponsor potentially hazardous space missions. Who knows, if the Voluntary Lunar Exploration Program, VLF, is successful, we may soon have expeditions to Jupiter and Saturn's frigid moons funded privately to seek for indications of life. This is just a theory. What kind of astonishing discoveries could these expeditions potentially make? The VLF experiment is a life or death one because it will either find evidence of life in the clouds of Venus or it will not. In the event that the VLF is successful in locating life, the implications of this finding will be somewhat shocking. This environment is so incredibly unlike to that of Earth that it makes one question whether or not it is even capable of harboring life at all. VLF will undoubtedly shed light on the odd chemistry that we find in the atmosphere of Venus, which could represent new and different biosignatures. This would suggest that there is a lot more life in the universe than we had previously expected there to be. Using this knowledge, the James Webb Space Telescope will be able to look for indications of life on exoplanets throughout the galaxy that are comparable to Earth. If we look into Venus's putative biosignature in great depth, there is a remote possibility that we will find indisputable evidence that life exists elsewhere in the universe. However, this is a long shot. After we have finished the last 3 missions, we will have a clearer grasp of how life may have began and developed on such a peculiar globe. This will give us a picture that is practically complete from the time it first existed to the present day. As a result, we should anticipate some absolutely astonishing scientific results to come from Venus over the course of the next decade, and the focus of the world's attention will finally turn away from Mars. We are on the edge of discovering life right here in our own cosmic backyard, and if we do, we will already have the instruments necessary to locate similar life on other exoplanets located hundreds of light years away from us. Either the galaxy is about to become significantly more populated, or we are about to find just how lonely we really are. Either way, one of two things is about to happen. One of these upcoming events is almost certain to take place. Thank you for being with us.